when I set out to make this video, I thought, well, I'm gonna make a video about all the pallet stuff that I've hobcobbled together. I forgot this even existed, but I'll do a quick one. This is our rhubarb. And we like to let our animals roam as much as we can. And we discovered that goats love rhubarb, even though the leaves are supposedly toxic to humans. Apparently not for goats, or maybe it is and they just don't care, but it's in pretty sad shape, to be honest, here. But all this flowery plant here grew and the bees like it, so I guess we left it. But you can use pallets this way, and this is just held together with, oh, there's an old praying mantis. This is just held together with old cutoffs of other pallets, or the, you know, the cross pieces here. You just slap one here and slap one there, who cares, you know. It's just keeping goats out of rhubarb, so it's nothing to get too fancy with. Let's check that guy out. Hi, you're going on YouTube. So what I like about this idea, and you see, I'll use a T-post once in a while. I thought maybe the goats would come after this worse than they did, but they pretty much just said it wasn't worth the trouble. But this actually was a gate at one point, but I think I ended up nailing it back together so it didn't swing anymore. But I plan to copy this for trees out in the wild. I have a lot of open grassland, and I have some frontier trees pop up from here to there. And we have white-tailed deer up here, and they tend to destroy them once they get big enough where a little buck will think he can mark it, and they scrape it with their antlers and they destroy them for the most part. So I plan to just do a 4-pallet. You know, it's pretty plain to see what I'm describing. But again, I think you could do this without any T-posts if you just got some of those little hurricane clips and just, you know, one high here, one low there. You know, 4 hurricane clips. I think they're $1, $2 a piece. They're galvanized, they'll last forever. A couple of screws or nails or whatever you have, and protect that tree from the deer at least, and probably the rabbits, because the rabbit doesn't like to go into a small enclosed area like that. So I'll move over here to my favorite part, and this is the whole reason I really made this video. What you're going to see is my old school way of stacking firewood, which I have discovered largely sucks. And the new way I've kind of put together just this year, which I'm pretty impressed with myself, which I probably shouldn't be, but here I am. So it was pretty much, you know, a couple T-posts, and then I put down some old 2x4s or 4x4s or whatever it was underneath this wood, so the bottom row wouldn't get all, it's pretty wet here, a lot of clay, so the water sits on top when it rains hard. So that bottom row of wood was really getting wasted, so we're down here. Same thing, you see, you put any stress on these T-posts, all that weight, and these are pounded down pretty well. They're pounded down in as far as they're supposed to be anyway, and it still leans on them. There's a pallet in there, hard to believe. So this was my intermediary. I would do a pallet, and then I thought I would put all these T-posts like this here and kind of run 2 rows. And we have an indoor wood burner, so I just split my wood. I don't like it too long, as I work and the wife stays home with the kids, so I don't like to leave her gigantic pieces of firewood to deal with during the day. But those are just too long to fit on a pallet. You see, this pallet is 48 this way, away from me, and 40 wide. Because, you know, I'm making a row, so I think, okay, run the pallet long ways. And as you see, that pallet is 48. That's actually an oversized lengthwise pallet, but it's long ways vertically. So this one, it kind of has 2 rows. This is some old oak, but this has 2 rows, and it's all right. There's some room in there, but these are actually some pretty narrow cut pieces of wood. I probably won't show on video, but there's my boot. I mean, that's barely longer than my boot. That's pretty short pieces of firewood. But this was really a round tree. It was a beast to yank it around on the wood splitter, so that's why I cross-cut it into smaller pieces so I didn't have to beat myself up too bad. This is kind of all disjointed. I was kind of figuring out what I was doing as I went here. So here's my crowning pallet achievement, and I was just starting a new section here, which is what I decided to make the video for. But so you see, the pallets they're 48 inches horizontally and 40 inches vertically. And even that being the case, all these pallets you'll see here are just the same way. You see that back pile there, You know, your sides are lower, but then you can still mount up nice and high. And so then what I do is I take that pallet and I brace it with a couple of T-posts, sort of centered, I guess, but this is just plastic. I got to come back in and redo that with some baler twine or electric fencing or whatever. You see it's got a little bit of lean out, tiny amount of lean out to it, but it's not going to fall. It's pretty well level. And I have a deal where I cut the wood, I split the wood for the most part, and I leave it here in a pile. And I have a couple of troublemaking boys who stack it for me, who are off camera making a bunch of noise. You boys, hush up and quit messing around and making a video. So anyway, they stack it, and the pallets really help them to stack it level. You know, all this stacking over here was by the boys, and you know, it's tippy. What can you do? You know, they're kids. So this is the second row, or second section. This is all ash here. This is what I'm doing. I'm trying to section my wood out by species. I like to mix ash with oak. And I've been cutting some hickory lately because the woods is really choked out with hickory. But here's the other side. You see that pallet's only 40 inches. And that's a nice, you know, that's chest high on me. That's a nice way to split firewood. I have it stacked up. I don't like it stacked real low because then it's all over the place. I'd rather have it higher. But when you're starting a new section, which is what I'm doing here for some maple I have off camera, you just put your 3 pallets, 48 by 40. And again, the 48's running away from me right now in this frame. And it's 40 on the left to right. You put your 40-inch vertically, your 48s horizontally. And almost all pallets have these little cutouts for forklift forks. And I just put 2 T-posts just in that little cutout area. And as long as you keep them mildly straight, they'll fit in there just right. And then I'll have those T-posts left in there. And then I'll put another couple of pallets, 1, 2, 3. I don't know, you could probably go 5 pallets, who knows how many, but I figured 3 was a conservative. I'm trying to build something pretty rock solid that, you know, lasts at least 5 years. These pallets are going to wear out eventually, but again, pallets are all pretty reliably 40 by 48. So even if these pallets that I have now start to fall apart, well, in the spring when almost all my wood's gone, I can just yank out the pallets that I have that are junk, burn them, whatever, get some new pallets from wherever, and pretty easily rebuild the same thing and probably not even have to move any T-posts, reuse the same layout. That's a long time to talk about pallets.